Hi, dear followers, and in today's class, we'll do the following exercise. So we have this rotary sensor, it's called potentiometer, and we have two pairs of lights, and each sensor controls the corresponding pair independently from each other. This is what we will be building today. Before starting with the class material, I have an important announcement to make. So the returning students that continue the classes also need to register for the classes. We changed our payment processing system. Please go to our website, stem.asa.org, register here. After you finish filling out the Google form, it will redirect you to our payment processing website where you can set up online automatic payments for the future. Or if you prefer other methods of payment, you can also do this during our first class. So that being said, let's go back and start working on the project. Let me first disassemble everything and let's start everything from scratch. So for today's exercise, I'm using these sensors that are called potentiometers. They are in the same box as the lights, and they have 3 legs, as you see, 3 pins. And the rotary part is separate from the sensor part. So this is how we start building it. I take this sensor, I put the middle pin on the other side of the other 2 pins. These 2 pins that are next to each other, they are connected to the plus and minus. So the very first thing, because we are going to use a lot of different sensors and LEDs, we'll need a lot of grounds and 5 volts. So the first thing I will do, I will make this entire row on the breadboard. The plus will be 5 volts, the minus will be GND. So that's the first thing I do, plus to the 5V and minus to GND. After that, let's do the following connections. One of these 2 pins that are next to each other, one of them will be a minus, the other one will be a plus. Minus, plus. Now this sensor is on. So the other side, the pin that's on the other side of the breadboard, I connected pin to A0. This sensor, let me put in the rotary control. This sensor measures how much it's rotated. So that's why it's an analog sensor. It's not an on-off sensor. The measurements, similar to the joystick, they go to 0 to 1023. So for the first part of the exercise, I'm connecting minus to the minus. I'm taking 2 LEDs. I'm directly connecting the short pin to the minus. Let me double check this. And the long pin will be in the middle of the breadboard. And I will use 2 digital pins that are close to this side. It will be 50 and 51. By the way, now it works for me because the program is already uploaded. For you, nothing should happen right now. This is the first part of the program. Let's go and write the code here. So we start from scratch, from an empty file. I want to remind you that if you're on Linux and Windows, you'll probably need to save it before being able to upload it. On Mac, it's not required to save the new code before you upload it to Arduino. So let's do the following. We first need to declare 50 and 51 as outputs. And we also need to declare A0 as a sensor, as an input. So this will be my void setup. For the void loop, I'll do something similar to what we did during the last week's assignment. I will create new functions. So I will create one function that's entirely responsible for all these tasks. So I'll call it measure1. And inside measure1, this is what I need to do. I first need to take the measurement from the sensor, right? I'll name the variable sensor1, and we read the variable from A0 because I connected it to A0 on the board. Then I write an if else. I'm like, if sensor1 is smaller than 500, the values change from 0 to 1023. So 500 is roughly the middle. I want to turn on 50 and turn off 51. And else means the sensor value is bigger than 500. It will be the opposite. 51 will be on, 50 will be off. And right now, nothing should happen. So what we did, we taught the computer what measure one does. We didn't actually tell it to run measure one. Let's tell it to run measure one. To do that, we need to write it in the void loop. See, and our program is back. So this concludes the first part of this exercise. Let's continue in the same video and add the second part. I will stop sharing the screen again to add the next component. I'm going to take the second potentiometer. By the way, each of you have two in your boxes. You should have two. Again, I added here. One of the nodes is a minus. The other one is a plus. The pin that's on the other side, the single pin, is the sensor value. It goes to A1. And then I add the rotary control. I also add two LEDs, the minus directly on the minus, the plus on the breadboard, on the middle of the breadboard. I'm on 11 and 15, for example, for the plus. I connect one of the pluses to 52, the other one to 53. So these are the connections for the second part, and let's go back to the code. Let me make this bigger again. So for the second part, this is the beauty of having functions. I just copy this function. By the way, I encourage you to try writing it with your hand too, just to learn. But that's not what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna copy this and change all the names to different names. So measure one will become measure two. This is a new function. The sensor two will read from analog one. It's connected to A1. And then here I use sensor 2 and I control instead of 50, 52, instead of 51, 53. So it becomes 52, 53, 52, 53. And at the very top, for its setup, 52, 53, A1. So see now the computer knows measure 2. It's not using measure 2 yet. Nothing is happening on this side. We just tell it to run. We just tell Arduino to run measure 2. To do that, we add it to the void loop and then we upload again. And here, see, they're controlled independently from each other. Let me show you one more common mistake that you might have and how to troubleshoot it. So for example, let's say if these two LEDs are connected the other way around, your right will turn on left and left will turn on right. So it will be the other way around. It kind of depends on which direction the sensor is connected at. But if you want to change them, if you want them to match the rotation direction of the sensor, You just have to change these two wires, and see, now it's left, right, left, right. So again, please go and re-register for the classes. And thank you for watching the video. Message me if you have any questions, and see you in the class this weekend.